It was only a matter of time before I got back to video games, and what better a time to do that than this year's E3? I figured with the big event coming up, I should make a video about what I'm looking forward to. Now, notice what I just said. This is a video about things that I am personally looking forward to. So I'm about somewhere between 99 and 100% sure that I'm not going to say something that you might have said, and that's okay. Everyone has a different interest, and hopefully it all happens so that we can all be happy. Probably won't work out that way, and when it does, then I just hope that I was more right than you were. So here are 10 things that I am hoping / predicting for this year's E3. A demo of Black Ops 4's Blackout mode. Since PUBG's rise in popularity, the race to develop Battle Royale modes for AAA titles is pretty apparent. Now we get Call of Duty's version of the mode in the form of Blackout for Black Ops 4. Here's the thing, when it comes to Call of Duty, I'm pretty burned out. Call of Duty's primary focus is with multiplayer, and I'm not great at it. So typically what happens is that I pick up the newest Call of Duty, complete the campaign, dabble in the multiplayer for a couple of days, and then never touch the game again. And you might be thinking, Rick, why would you play a Call of Duty game for the single player? That's dumb. To that I say, no, it's not dumb. The developers made an effort to tell a story, and me being a sucker for stories, I always take the time to experience it. Call of Duty stories aren't that bad. Unfortunately, Black Ops 4 will not feature a campaign, so we just have to accept that fact. But when it comes to the Blackout mode, we need to see this mode in action. This is going to be the big pull for Black Ops 4. Of course, the game is making some changes to the way multiplayer is played and embracing zombies more so now than ever, but this Blackout mode with all of the Fortnite and PUBG craze will be something Black Ops 4 needs to nail. They need to start answering questions like how many players are in the game, how will vehicles play a role, how big is the map. I would think it would be wise for Treyarch to have popular streamers and YouTube content creators to show the game off, have them fill out spots and demo the game live like what EA does with Battlefield. We need to see more of this Blackout mode. Gameplay of Battlefield V, or 5, whatever. So the announcement trailer for this game is already out, and I just don't know what to think of it. I'm told it's World War II, but it just barely looks like it. The trailer had some mixed reactions, but was mostly computer generated, so you really can't judge the game on that alone, so let's see the game in action. A gameplay demo of the game is pretty inevitable, and as I mentioned before, EA for the past 2 years brought on streamers to demo their games. It's safe to say that they will do so here again. Of course, there are rumors of Battlefield V, or 5, taking a stab at the Battle Royale craze. I'm not against it, but wonder how much different it could be from Call of Duty's version. That's assuming they do it at all, because they might not. But after this interesting trailer, I do want to see a gameplay demo for this game. A gameplay demo for Kingdom Hearts 3. This game was officially announced 5 years ago at E3, and since then there has been very little information. There have been confirmations about some of the new worlds like Toy Story, Big Hero 6, Monsters Inc., and Tangled. What I want is for a legitimate presentation of a gameplay demo. There are a couple of videos that you can find that show you gameplay, but none of them have a developer explaining what's happening. Now, I don't mean to say that you can't figure it out, but I just want to see a more formal showing of gameplay at this year's E3. Bring out a developer to talk about some of the newer mechanics, maybe show off something that we don't know about, then end the presentation with the announcement of a new world and an official confirmation of a release date for later this year. More information on Anthem. Last year at E3, we got an announcement for BioWare's new IP, Anthem. I like the first demo of the game, but I feel we need more information. We need to hear about the story of that world, if there will be any role-playing aspect to the game, like decision-making and dialogue, the stuff that BioWare is known for and excels at. Now, the concern going into Anthem is, of course, BioWare's handling of Mass Effect Andromeda. I still stand by that game. I think it was good and that people were way too hard on it. But the fact is that BioWare did cut corners with the development of Andromeda, and likely because of Anthem. In other words, Anthem better be amazing and the greatest thing BioWare has ever created, because after Andromeda, Anthem can't be anything less. A gameplay demo of Red Dead Redemption 2. So Rockstar rarely shows up at E3. They do sometimes, usually in PlayStation's corner, but Rockstar and their games have always walked to the beat of their own drum. Because of Red Dead Redemption 2's release date later this year, I think it would be a wise guess to have Red Dead Redemption 2 show up at E3 with an actual demo. We've already gotten trailers that give us a glimpse of the story. I don't need any more story details. I want to see this game move. Show us how it plays, how much of the first Red Dead Redemption's mechanics will carry over. What new things does it offer? Is the world more filled than the last game? Are there any Grand Theft Auto 5 elements that it will adopt? Will it have the same kind of online support that GTA 5 has seen? Assuming the release date for this year is set in stone and will not be delayed, Rockstar has to show off some bit of the gameplay eventually, and E3 is the best stage to do it. Now, I say has to. Honestly, Rockstar doesn't have to do anything. Even if they didn't show off any gameplay, people are still going to buy that game. I just think it's silly for them to not. Why not take an opportunity to build hype for your game? So do it at E3 and nail it. An announcement for Rocksteady's Superman game. Ever since the release of Batman Arkham Knight, the fanbase has been buzzing about a possible Superman game, all of it stemming from Easter eggs referencing the Man of Steel in Arkham Knight. That was 3 years ago, and since then we have had so many more leaks and clues that continue to support that Rocksteady's next game is a Superman game. I want Rocksteady to officially announce it here. Now, the rumors are that the game is going to be released later this year or early next. I'm not settling on that rumor because dates for even known games can get pretty finicky. All I really need at this year's E3 is a confirmation that the game is coming, a little tease of the S and the Rocksteady logo, that's it. If the game is primed for pre-release demoing, then great. I am worried about how the game will play. Superman is a hard character to nail down. Batman is easy, and his combat system in his games worked because his abilities are nothing more than what anyone is able to do. He just had different gadgets and whatnot to give him an advantage. Superman is trickier. He can fly, has super strength. Making that work for a game is a tall order. How do you ground Superman to make him make sense for a video game? But as I said, all I need is a tease to say that the game is coming. Anything on Square Enix's Avengers game. Speaking of superheroes, Square Enix announced that Crystal Dynamics would be working on a game called either The Avengers Project or Avengers Reassemble, one of the two. So I like a lot of what Square Enix does, but there's a good amount of stuff that I don't like as well. For example, their game as a service mentality. Ever since Destiny and Rockstar's support of GTA Online, Square Enix figured, well, we'll just do that. Release a version of a game and then over time continue to support and add new things. That's not a terrible idea, but in my opinion, it's a risky one. For one thing, you run the risk of releasing a game that feels unfinished. That can kill a lot of the player base. Look at Sea of Thieves. I love Sea of Thieves, but I also recognize its shortcomings. Chief among them is that there isn't much to do in the world. Rare has said that there will be more stuff to come, but when the game came out, a lot of players dropped off when they realized that there wasn't much to do. So it's a big risk for this Avengers game. You want to release a game that has a lot of content to keep people playing until the next update. The other big thing is that you assume that your game will be so great that people will want to continue playing. For this point, I point to the first Destiny. Yeah, the game had a good amount of things to do, kinda sorta, but you also had to retread a lot of the same areas, the story was half-assed, and by the time I reached level 20, which people tell me is when the game really kicks off, I was already done with it. I didn't want to be in the world anymore, I wanted to play something else. Destiny 1 was poorly executed, and I jumped out before there was time to see more of the newer content that was released. If Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix are comfortable with those risks and feel that this Avengers game is going to overcome those issues, then hell yeah, I want to see more of it. I do hope this game makes an appearance to show us pretty much anything about what this game is, but I wouldn't put any money down on saying that it will release later this year. A Fable 4 announcement. The Fable franchise has had an interesting story over the last few years. In 2008, Fable 2 released to very positive reviews. It was everything fans wanted from a Fable game, with the same charm and role-playing elements. 2 years later was Fable 3, which was less well received. I never played it personally because the bad reviews kind of scared me away, but I have been eyeing it up recently when a friend let me borrow it. Then the developer Lionhead Studios decided to take a left turn with the franchise and announced Fable Legends in 2013. This game was a massive departure from the other games in the franchise. The game was multiplayer focused, with heroes working together to defeat a villain who controls the obstacles that the heroes would have to overcome, like when and where enemies spawned, when the boss entered. But the issue with this game was that it was so heavy on microtransactions. 2 years later, Fable Legends was to be free to play, which meant that the microtransactions would be even more heavy. The studio talked about how this model was the future of gaming, but in my opinion, it was everything wrong with the industry. Fable Legends turned into this abomination of a game and was eventually canceled in 2016 when Microsoft closed down Lionhead Studios. So with Lionhead Studios down for the count and the future of the Fable franchise in question, why is this on my list? Well, I think it would be dumb for Microsoft to let a first-party property lapse. It would only be a matter of time before they gave the franchise to another studio. Then suddenly, in recent months, rumors about Fable 4 started coming out, which talked about a return to form for the franchise and a possible developing studio attached to the project. With all these rumors, having Fable's new game being announced at E3 would act as a triumphant return for the beloved series. All we need is a teaser, nothing more than that. I don't think we'll be seeing a release this year, but I just want an official confirmation that the game is coming. A teaser for Halo 6. It's been quite a while since we've heard anything about the main Halo series. I'm not talking about their new arcade game or Halo Wars. I'm talking about the main entries. It's no secret that 343 Industries misstepped with Halo 5. That game was not that great. Its multiplayer saved it, but the single player was just bad and disappointed many fans like myself. Now, I really liked Halo 4. I actually recently replayed it, and I tried to replay Halo 5, but never got through it all the way and then just started playing something else. Here's the silver lining if there is one. 343 knows they misstepped. They know that they had misleading marketing for a better story that we didn't get. Seriously, those ads were amazing and none of it was in the game. It teased a much better story that we didn't get, and that's just so disappointing. But because 343 knows they messed up, information about Halo 6 has been very quiet. The rumors are that after Halo 5's reception, 343 scrapped a decent amount of their Halo 6 plans and had to rework a lot of big things. That was 3 years ago, and I think that at this point, 343 has to have something ready. I don't think the game will release this year, but I think it would be a safe bet to say that Halo 6 could be ready for a 2019 fall release. We all know it's coming, so all we need for this year's E3 is a brief little tease to announce the game and establish a window for 2019, then do more demoing next year. That's all I ask for. A gameplay demo of Fallout 76. Now, I was not expecting this at all. Last week, Bethesda put out a teaser for Fallout 76, which showed a character wearing a Vault 76 jumpsuit. So we can assume that the main character will come out of Vault 76, and with that information, we can figure out when and where this game might take place. According to Fallout lore, Vault 76 was roughly in the DC area, that same area that Fallout 3 took place in. We also know that Vault 76 was scheduled to open in the year 2097, which is almost 200 years prior to the events of Fallout 3. So this game could see us returning to the Capital Wastelands, but 180 years before our last visit. This could greatly change a lot of what we know about the Fallout world. Megatons, super mutants, all of that likely won't be around. In fact, it could be that this game will feature the character surviving in a much harsher environment and using the settlement mechanics from Fallout 4, maybe being the first people to set roots down and rebuilding society. What's super cool is that Bethesda has adopted the strategy of only talking about games that are in the immediate future. So seeing Fallout 76 releasing later this year is a very good possibility. I have no doubts that this tease is being used to build up hype for when they demo the game at this year's E3. Fallout 4 owned E3 in 2015, and with this tease, I have high hopes for this new entry in the Fallout series. Bethesda continues to be my favorite developer, and I love everything that Todd Howard's team does, so I am hype about this game for sure. And that's it. Those are 10 things I am hoping for at this year's E3. And before people ask, why didn't you predict Elder Scrolls 6 or the new Star Wars game? Firstly, I say this every damn year, don't expect anything about Elder Scrolls 6 because Bethesda has been playing their cards closer to their chest than ever before. There have been no leaks or rumors or anything about Elder Scrolls 6, and I would be truly shocked if they said anything about it at this year's E3. Next year, maybe, and that's a hard maybe because again, they only talk about games that are in the immediate future, and I don't see Elder Scrolls 6 being a game that will release next year. Don't hold your breath. As for Star Wars, after EA's microtransaction debacle with Battlefront 2, the closing of Visceral Games, the departure of Amy Hennig, and talk of the new Star Wars game being reworked to not be a single-player game, all results in me having exactly zero faith in EA's handling of the Star Wars license. I don't care if the game shows up at E3. I can only predict it being just another multiplayer-focused game with microtransactions and a half-assed focus on any single-player element. I have always been an EA supporter until they botched up Battlefront 2 and closed down Visceral Games. I no longer have any faith in them. But beyond all of that, what do you hope to see out of this year's E3? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.